This video is brought to you by a huge mountain of drugs. Jared Carthalion True Heir versus Daretti Scrap Savant, Gallia of the Endless Dance, and a couple of partner commanders, Cazur, Ruthless, Stalker, along with Ukkima, Stalking Shadow. We are going to keep that because I've got Sol Ring and Kodama's Reach. We'll just have to hope that we keep the Sol Ring in play. And speaking of fast mana, a mana vault coming down from our opponent. Alright, and we get into another land, that's very good, so we might be able to rip into another land for Kodama's Reach on turn 3 anyway. Yeah, I think it's fairly safe to just get down the Shadow Spear now. Save us a bit of mana later on. A Birds of Paradise player from Deja Shade, who is a friend of the channel, patron of the channel, running the partners. And then, what was that? It was one of the adventure cards. Oh, here it is. A Lovestruck Beast playing Heart's Desire. That is Go-Go Batman with Gallia of the Endless Dance. And then it is a turn 2 Daretti from the Stranger that we found on Magic Online. Now a Bazaar of Baghdad. That seems like a bit of a god hand they had. Getting rid of things like Tangle Wire, there's Contagion Engine, Mindslaver, yeah. A little bit of a god hand there, but at least they're down to 1 mana next turn. And they just decide to discard some more cards. So now it's round to our turn. This is an Enchantress build, by the way. Didn't know which way to go. Decided to try and get some kind of Voltron Enchantress thing going with Jared. Not necessarily the best tactic because he doesn't have hexproof, but we'll try our luck here anyway. Let's set up a Smothering Tithe next turn, go for Kodama's Reach. And we'll get the mountain into play tapped, play the plains, and tap. And there we are, a Kodama's Reach of his own coming from Deja Shade. And there is the second commander of the game, pretty fast one so far, although it's only a 2 mana commander, isn't it? Gallia of the Endless Dance. Should go in it, yep, goes in at the Planeswalker. And I think that's a minus, yeah, it's a -2, so they can still go for that. They'll be able to get rid of their Mana Crypt and get something else down, probably Tangle Wire. Now Daretti activating the Bazaar of Baghdad again. And this time there's a Blast Zone in the bin. They get rid of Planar Bridge, Crucible, and Rings of Bright Hearth. Might go for the Crucible so that they can start playing lands out of the graveyard there. Although they've only got 1 at the moment. Nope, deciding to plus the Daretti. And now there's a Scrap Trawler in there, along with a Gamble. Another land for us, that's good. So, I think we just go Smothering Tithe. Can we get down the Enchantress first? I don't think so. No, we're a mana shy of that. Yeah, so let's just set up with the Smothering Tithe. And we can get ourselves into a tap land with the Wooded Foothills. The Smothering Tithe being paid for by Shade, which will take them down to 2 or 3 mana. 3 mana apparently. And they are into Ukkima. And there's another Satyr, the Hedonist. You can gain yourself some red mana with that. And are they going in at Daretti? They've drawn some more cards anyway. So we'll get some more Smothering Tithe treasures. Discarded a Soul of the Harvest. And looks like, yep, they're taking out Daretti. That's really good. That puts them in a really bad position because they've gone crazy with Daretti in the early game, but only have 1 mana available to them. Oh, a Signal Pest, yeah. Go-Go's looking pretty good here. I think we might make the Daretti player, the Monarch, want to try and encourage them to not scoop, but also to encourage damage directly at the Daretti player. And Daretti just having to pass straight over to us, being unlucky with the lands. I think they had a choice to discard this land, which is curious, so yeah, I'm not sure why they did that. Anyway, it's a Clifftop Retreat for us. Let's go for our commander first of all. Oh, and of course the Daretti player decides to scoop. I thought it was curious that the Daretti player hadn't scooped yet. Okay, well, we'll just have to carry on with our dear patrons. Now we can't become the monarch this turn. Let's go for the Satyr Enchanter. And we'll go Shielded by Faith as well. Onto our Jared, and that will draw us a card. Okay, and another Enchantress, that's really good. Is the Sultai player going to wipe the board is the question. I don't think I'm going to play into... Yeah, I don't think I'm going to play into a board wipe. Let's just equip the Shadow Spear. And we can always go for the Enchantress and a couple of enchantments next turn, try and refill our hand. Now the second commander coming down for the partner player. And we are certainly not going to put a Shielded by Faith on there. Although it's interesting that you can do that. Might be able to use it for some politicking at some point. Now the Ukkima going in towards the Gruul player. Now this card is probably going to be relevant with the monarchy flying around because it is unblockable. And it gets that +1 counter on it thanks to its partner. Now a Black Blade Reforged, that is something worth worrying about with an unblockable commander in play. The Satyr being sacrificed for a bunch of mana. And that takes them into Tendershoot Dryad, that ought to keep them in a lot of creatures. So it's going to be tough to keep hold of the monarchy, I think. Alright, Chromatic Lantern, I think we're doing alright on mana. Let's go for this Argothian Enchantress. And we'll see if we can get anything decent here. Garruk's Uprising will draw us a card because Jared is currently at a lot of power. We'll draw from both the Enchantresses, get into more ramp. Isn't necessarily a bad thing. Draw with the Garruk's Uprising. Okay, Gift of Immortality, more indestructible. Maybe we just concentrate on ramping this turn then. So let's go Sky Shroud Claim. We might not keep the Smothering Tithe forever. So we'll go Tiger and Savannah. Then a Nature's Law as well. And that can go in tapped. And let's steal the monarchy away from Deja Shade here. Probably comes straight back in at us. And this is where Vigilance would come in handy. We haven't actually drawn into any Vigilance enablers yet, but Vigilance would be really good on Jared because it makes it more difficult for people to swing back in at us because we'll just end up dumping a bunch of plus counters on this. We got into Guardian Project for more card draw at least. The Black Blade Reforged going on to the Cazur, followed by a Hydra's Growth. On to Ukkima. Yeah, so holding back the Cazur as a big blocker. We get 4 points of commander damage here. We're just going to have to take that. And they take the monarchy away from us, of course, and draw a card at the end of the turn. Getting round to Gogo's attack phase now, and we've got some stuff coming in at us. They don't seem to be all that eager to take the monarchy away. Alright, so swinging the 0-1 that can't be blocked to the left, and the rest is coming in at us. So we've got, yeah, a lot of stuff there that we can't block without losing our creatures. Might have to put Gift of Immortality in play, 1 to draw some cards, and 2 so that we can actually block these things. Make it a little bit more difficult for them to swing in at us. We'll just have to take it for now. Llanowar Elves will not have a Shielded by Faith put onto it. And even more Dorks coming into play. We really want to get into a big damage-based sweeper at this point. Blasphemous Act or Star of Extinction, something like that, so that we can buff our Jared and whack all of our opponents for a huge amount of damage. They got down Copperhorn Scout as well, which is relevant. Alright, a land for us. I'll hold off on that for a second. Let's get down this Guardian Project. Now that will draw us a couple of cards. Swords to Plowshares will be good to get rid of this. And then we can just maybe take the monarchy back. We do have to worry about Black Blade Reforged going onto this though. Anyway, let the Guardian Project hit play. We'll put the Wild Growth onto our plains. Alright, Gideon's Sacrifice. That might be good. If they decide to whack us for a huge amount of damage, we'll not only keep the monarchy, but we'll get a bunch of plus counters onto Jared. So let's go Gift of Immortality onto the Satyr. And there is a Brash Taunter. So that makes it more difficult for our opponents to swing towards us as well. Drop a Mountain. And we'll go for the Brash Taunter here, I think. And that will draw us with the Guardian Project. And there we are, that's what I was aiming for, something like that. We've got Song of the Dryads as well as this. Might put Darksteel Mutation in the deck as well. So how's about a Swords to Plowshares onto Cazur. And then we'll take the Monarchy from Deja Shade. And then if Gogo decides to turn everything in sideways at us, we can always go Gideon's Sacrifice and stop all the damage being dealt to us. Either put it on the Brash Taunter to reflect it all, or put it on Jared, and we can keep the Monarchy and put all the plus counters on it. I think we're looking okay here. Let's put Kenrith's Transformation onto their commander. That itself will draw us a card. Okay. I think... yeah, we've got the only white sources that we can get with the 3 visits, so I'll just have to hold up the white mana for the Gideon Sacrifice. We shall leave it at that. And we draw another card. Just another plane, so let's get rid of some lands here. The Hydra's Growth still continues to trigger, so this will still get a bunch of plus counters on it. It's just that it can't be blocked at this point. Sawtusk Demolisher, and that is Mutate. Whenever it mutates, destroy a target non-creature permanent. Yeah, so that's a Beast Within, isn't it? I'm not sure what they're aiming for there. They've put that on top anyway, and it's still the commander, apparently, even though it's on top. They didn't get the Mutate with that either because of the Kenrith's Transformation. Removes all the abilities from it, including Mutate. And now a Sickle Slicer. And they just passed the turn at that, as you would expect. They're not going to get through all of this mess, and they don't want to swing into a Brash Taunter. Let's see if Gogo wants to turn in sideways at us. A Galta, Primal Hunger. A 12/12 with Trample for 2 mana. That's not terrible. And, ooh, a Hell Rider. I don't think they have quite enough to take anyone out. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, it's a lot of damage, but it's not quite enough. And this triggers on attack as well, doesn't it? Yeah, so the fact that it's on attack means that we can still make use of Gideon's Sacrifice. It's just even more damage for us to deflect. So we're just hoping for them to turn everything in sideways. Looks as though they are doing that, but not doing it at us. Going in towards Deja Shade now. So there is Signal Pest triggering along with Gallia. And a bunch of Hellrider triggers. Okay, so we've got the 3/2 and the 4/3 swinging in at us. And we might as well block their commander with the 3/2, because our Satyr is indestructible now. And then a couple of Saproling tokens getting blocked here. So Brash Taunter will trigger, Gift of Immortality will trigger as well. Let's point some damage at Gogo. And the Satyr comes back into play, which will draw us a card. Alright, and that's the type of thing we're looking for. The new Kedis might be able to help us out here. It depends if we can dump a lot of plus counters on there this turn. And there we are, the Gift of Immortality coming back onto the Satyr Enchanter. Tendershoot Dryad continuing to trigger over there. Okay, Sphere of Safety makes it more difficult for our opponent. Let's drop another Plains. Let's go for the Destiny Spinner first of all. And now we've got a Mirari's Wake, which is going to be really good. Drawing a bunch of cards every time we get creatures and enchantments down, of course, in typical Enchantress fashion. Protector of the Crown is one of the pariah effects that we've got in the deck. This is really good when it's indestructible, of course. Let's drop the Mirari's Wake. And there we are, a Star of Extinction. That's exactly the kind of thing we want, so we might be able to win here. Let's throw out a land. And we're going to lose some creatures here. We're actually going to be able to deal 20 damage to someone with the Brash Taunter. Yeah, so we are the Monarch. We can go for Start of Extinction. And we have to choose something to destroy. We'll get rid of the Rogue's Passage, because it does destroy a land. Not that that's the reason that we are playing this card. It's for the damage that we can deal to our own Jared. So there we go, bumping up Jared to a 25-25. The Brash Taunter can deal 25 damage straight to Deja Shade. Even without the Brash Taunter, we've got the win here because we just hit someone for 25 points of commander damage and Kedis does it to everyone else. But we'll get rid of Deja Shade anyway, just because he's in blue. And we'll get our Satyr back into play, which will draw us a card. And then we'll get this down just for the fun of it. Didn't have quite enough damage to deal to Deja Shade. I've obviously misremembered how much of a life total he has. So we'll make use of the Lizard here. Let's just waste that mana. Go in towards Go-Go for the commander damage. So that takes him out. Then Kedis will deal the 25 damage to Deja Shade. And there we go. Alright, so that panned out pretty well for us, didn't it? We got off to a pretty good start. It was a one-lander, but we had the Sol Ring and a means of getting more lands, and then that took us into Smothering Tithe, so, I mean, pretty difficult to struggle on mana after you've gotten all that into play in the early game. Weren't really doing much of anything for a few turns, but we managed to set up and keep our Enchantresses, and that draws you a cartload of cards, so yeah, some changes to be made. I think I would very much have liked Vigilance on my commander so that it was more difficult to swing into, but apart from that, I think it did very well, did exactly what it was meant to do anyway. Hopefully you all enjoyed this visit to Jared from Commander Legends. Be sure to leave it a thumbs up and subscribe if you did. I'm Tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.